Hello, fellow YouTubers and faithful. So I wanted to say, today is my birthday, and I just want to say, you know, even though even though some of you might be faithful or something, but something I've found, I've been pondering about the faith, the Gospel of Thomas, like sources said that it was actually declared as a heretical, and it doesn't really, it kind of. But then I saw when I was reading my Bible on the Gospel of Luke, I found where it talks about from chapter 6 verses 14 to 6 through 16 about the apostles. And here's what it and actually, contrary to what a lot of religious rulers believed and what them believed, Thomas was as an apostle. And for centuries, his gospel was hidden in a way because the rulers of the Roman Empire, of many empires and kingdoms, feared what it could do to the people. So it was stowed away, and right from that time until 1945, when it was found in Egypt. And the scriptures of the gospel actually showed that about how Jesus' words talk about duality, and it kind of makes sense, and kind of, it really. But the 12 apostles from verses 14 through 16 are Simon, which was Simon Peter, Andrew, James, John, and Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas is there said it, and then Alphaeus' son James, the zealot Simon, and then the son of James, Judas, and finally the one who betrayed Jesus, Judas Iscariot. So and I'm kind of like an intuitive person, and I kind of know how to connect the dots and all that. So it kind of. And then there was a story that I learned about, where there was a wedding going on, between a man who had a 13-year-old son who was emotionally guarded, and he wasn't on either side of the spectrum, but he was very emotionally guarded, but he didn't have, well, even though he didn't really detest or approve or against his now stepmother, Carolyn, but his son, but his name was Tim, and the bride's name was Carolyn. But right before his father said "I do," Tim spoke up and told his father and pointed out how the bride Carolyn, and its birthmark. And Tim said that it matched the same birthmark that was found on one of his classmates, Emma. The birthmark that was on the shoulder that was inherited. For Caroline, it was a shocking revelation, and that something significant was unveiled. There was so much embarrassment, shock, and ultimately guilt. But after some hesitation, Caroline finally had to tell everyone and speak out and tell everyone that that years ago she had a daughter that she felt she could not break, that that she could not raise, so she had put her up for adoption. And yeah, and even ultimately, Emma just looked a lot like her biological mother. And well, that parable actually tells me that that kind of a that kind of a mental state kind of, it's what I think what a lot of chosen people do is that they they may not show their emotions, but they have an intuition about them. Chosen people have it. There might be some obvious marks on their palms, like the Marian Cross or the crescent moon, and that goes on both. That goes across part of the when you put your palms together. But then there's like some subtle signs like compassion, empathy, and so on, and it really shows a lot of
Okay, I do love that.
like it really shows a lot. It goes to show that like things do, like when we like people who are like a certain lineage. What they do is they tend to have that ability to connect the dots and all that, But quite often, like the emotional intelligence doesn't really. The emotional intelligence doesn't really do. It doesn't really, it kind of, emotional intelligence doesn't really go that well because, like they like they kind of, I don't know how to explain it, they like a lot of times, like they're very socially smart either. So and lately I've been in the years of times, like one of the game that I've been playing a lot, State of Survival. Now I've been trying to like abstain from it for a bit, so focus more on my video editing and all that. So you kind of. It's kind of like some form of fasting too. So it kind of, there's so much that we show, that shows in so many ways it happens, But over time, everything kind of. But there's always going to be a revelation in our lives, all the time, and I'm also going to flash forward to like on Luke chapter 6 verses 27 to 35, like about how to love for your enemies, and this is something I need to know, that I need to really keep in mind, like instead of being so reciprocating, like I need to realize, even though I need to learn to love my enemies, and even do good to those who hate me, like bless those who curse me, like pray for those who would hurt me. if I get slapped in one cheek, then let them slap both sides of my face. If they want my coat, I'll just then I'll just give them my shirt. Or yet when anyone asks, but don't expect anything in return. It's don't expect others to give back to you. Because it all kind of connects to the love, and love. If you only love those who love you, you wouldn't even get any credit. And sinners who love those who love them too. Okay. And if you do good to those who only do good to you, why should you be rewarded? Even sinners do the same thing. If you lend money only to those who can repay you, then why would you? Why should you? Sinners lend will also can even lend to other sinners and get it paid in full. He's always saying, and then the last two verses of this, you gotta love your enemies, to give to them, lend to them without expecting any reward, any payback. And ultimately, the ultimate reward will come from heaven. It'll be a lot greater than what you would think. You'll be like children of the most high. For the Almighty, for our heavenly Father is God, is kind to those, even if they're unthankful and wicked. Have that compassion like Him. And I think I have seemed to have that sense of compassion in my heart too. Maybe it's because I don't know. It's hard to explain too. But sometimes when you plant the seed on trying to plant the seed on others, those are the ones that just they try to, they'll try to believe it for a bit, but then they just wither away. Or they don't get there. They don't let and they're just still focused. You try to, and I gotta try to learn to be more positive and at the same time realistic, But sometimes, trying to plant that seed, it can sometimes only be in vain. When I try to do it on people who are in the disability community, it just backfires. But this is about it I can say, because I'm going to stop recording here right away. Oh, and I'm just going to say, so I'm just carrying on from last time, we got to learn to, plant the seed. Eat like the mustard seed, and if no one's going to take your word, take those things, take that advice, then that's where the karma comes in, and so that's why I just kind of always believe it's just like the karma of love, and the karma of law of cause and effect too. You reap what you sow. Getting back to where you love your enemies, we all gotta know that. We need to understand that. And then I kind of connect the dots with the circle of love that I've learned from another book about, we love those who love us, but if we love, we can't, too often we love those who don't love us, but we don't return love to those who do. We don't necessarily give that love back to those people. because if you're giving love to others, it'll come back. It could even come back from someone else. Lately, I've been Lately, I've been connecting with with young women, even teenagers too. And like it all makes sense now. So. Kind of, because we always seem to do a lot of things. We always seem to, and like, and it really comes down. What it really comes down to is when we're always so wound up all the time. It really drains our energy, but now I need to learn just to hold my cool and just let things go. And I mean, I'm not sure if I'm being but when I was late, there's been a couple of times that I was in my dreams that I've seen someone I once known in high school, like in an orange in prison, like in that same jumpsuit that I would see everywhere in any that you would see in prison. But you know what? I know inevitably it would happen. But, I mean, my caregiver does her best to try and shelter me from getting all into that risk, but sometimes it wouldn't even matter. But if she keeps on doing it, it'll backfire though. Sometimes like, I used to not be able to understand it, but I'm starting to, but as a Christian, I know that the world is going to be filled with so many trials that will test every part of me. That's why I need to know. That's why I need to really be prepared to weather every storm that comes all over, comes my way. Even though I have arguments, but sometimes my fears get me in trouble. That's what it really comes down to. So, anyways, I'm just gonna end it here and continue on, so that when my company comes, I can just do. And I'm gonna be off my computer for now. So until then, stay tuned for more vlogs, and I'll catch up with you another time. Bye.